Hi, this is Mike from Dimensional Walking. Today we're going to call this episode, this video, the Cannon Air Force Base Incident, a night of terror over the base. Okay? So let's dive into this eerie, underreported Cannon Air Force Base UFO incident in New Mexico. It is probably one of the most chilling and least known military related UFO event in American history. Okay, believe it or not. Okay, so here we go. On the night of January 21st, 1976, multiple personnel at Cannon Air Force Base near Clovis, New Mexico, witnessed a series of bizarre aerial phenomena that defied explanation. The event was so disturbing that it allegedly led to the temporary closure of the base's operation and then went into a classified investigation. So I'll give you a little bit of background about the Cannon Air Force Base. So it's located, of course, in eastern part of New Mexico. Was a strategic installation to nuclear capable infrastructure and operations. It played a critical role in supporting tactical nuclear readiness through its, through its association with fighters and bomber squadrons that trained for nuclear delivery missions. It was a base that hosted I think it's the F-111 uh, ARC aircraft, which were capable of carrying B-61 nuclear bombs with what they call variable yield weapons designed for flexible deployment. That's the official stuff, okay? So, anyways, additionally, the location was placed within a network of nuclear command. The nuclear command is there and control systems. It was maintained as a weapons storage area. It was heavily guarded, where nuclear components and delivery systems were secured. In 1976, the UFO incident proximity to these assets raised alarms within the military circles, as this particular aircraft, uh, or whatever it was, I don't know if they call it an aircraft, a craft, we'll call it, um, basically was hovering over these sensitive zones. So this was sort of like this intersection of high strangeness over these nuclear uh, capabilities, echoing patterns that were also seen at a place like Monstron, I believe that's up in the Dakotas, and Bentwaters, which is in England. The first story surfaced publicly uh, through the radio host Stanton Friedman. I think we all know Stanton if we're in the UFO world. And of course, there's another researcher, Gabe Valdez, who is a friend of mine, or was a friend of mine. He passed, was a friend of mine from my Dulce, New Mexico days, my Dulce underground base days when we did a lot of research up there. And Gabe was right in the middle of all that too. Um, so he had collected testimonies from airmen and radar operators. According to these accounts, multiple UFOs were seen hovering, not one, but multiple, hovering and darting around the base. The objects were described as silent, triangular, and capable of instantaneous acceleration. The radar operators confirmed the presence of unknown craft, but objects moved in ways that defied conventional physics. So we have a few eyewitnesses here. So one of the more compelling was this security police officer who claimed that the base had gone into this lockdown thing, and that there was many witnesses that said this was these massive kind of triangular craft hovering over the sensitive weapon storage areas. The craft emitted this kind of low frequency hum and had these pulsating lights on the edges of the craft. Uh, there were attempts made to communicate with this object, but they failed. And then at that point, the craft disappeared or vanished without a trace. Another witness, a radar technician, reported that the object jumped from one location to another on the radar, something he had never seen before or didn't know of any aircraft that had that capability. So let's talk a little bit about this, the psychological impact and the secrecy. What makes this case especially disturbing is the military response. Witnesses were allegedly debriefed and told not to speak. Some were transferred or discharged shortly after the incident. There was no official report that was ever released, and the Freedom of Information requests have yield very little. Okay, so the secrecy and intimidation tactics mirror other high strangeness cases like Ramersham Forest, but Cannon Air Force Base remains far less known. The Ramersham Forest is sort of the same thing. Aliens, this time aliens actually landed. Besides having a craft in the air, there actually were some possible alien encounters on the ground, and that was Ramersham Forest is this Air Force base that is a joint Air Force base between Britain and the United States, in which we have nuclear capable bombers located there. So, anyways, uh, so this again, this was not a civilian sighting. This was a military-grade encounter involving nuclear assets, trained observers, radar confirmation. So this implies some kind of chilling things. If the craft was extraterrestrial, it penetrated secured military zone with impunity. Okay, and you probably have heard that there's been a lot of drones that have been doing that. Maybe they're UFOs, maybe they're not. So they're UFOs, I guess, because just by definition they're UFOs. But the point is that these drones that have been reported around the country recently, um, are they just some kind of a drone or some kind of another country coming around looking at stuff, or is it an alien group? Who knows? If it was an experimental human tech, it would be operating outside our protocols and without identification. This is sort of what may be happening right now. Either way, it represents a breach of national security and a violation of physical laws. The way this thing is moving around. The Cannon Air Force Base incident never received any kind of media coverage, major media coverage. It occurred because probably it occurred to some extent in this remote area and involved classified operations and lack photographic evidence. Most of what we know comes from whistleblowers such as Gabe Valdez, who was had, of course, deep ties in the UFOs and cattle mutilations and all kinds of high strangeness stuff when he was alive and in Mexico. Of course, this was all overshadowed by the more flashier cases like Roswell and the Phoenix Lights. But for those who dig deeper, it's probably a gold mine of military grade strangeness, no doubt about that. In recent years, renewed interest in military UFO encounters, especially post Pentagon UAP disclosures that we've all heard about, and which has actually brought up the Cannon Air Force Base back kind of into the conversation. I don't think it's, I think they should really dig much deeper in that, what I've seen in those disclosures. Um, so it's now seen as this pattern. There's this pattern that has developed over the years. UFOs are very interested in nuclear facilities. Okay. There's been these radar confirmed maneuvers beyond human capabilities. There's a suppression of witness testimony. So this was no doubt a very major military UFO encounter. Okay. It's sad that it wasn't known to the public at that time because basically we had a right to know that we basically had a bit of an invasion. Okay. And now we need to act like and now we need to act like it never happened, but it really did happen. and let's not forget that, please. So, anyways, happy trails until we meet again. We'll see you. Bye bye.